One thing that people don't notice about Abe, too, is I was actually just looking at it, and I noticed it when I first started grappling with him. Abe has a very thick bone structure for somebody who fights at 170. Even his legs, man, he's got very, very big legs and weirdly like flexible legs. But I'm actually looking to see what I'm interested to see what Mark Stevens chooses to do in the stand-up. I think that if the advantage definitely lies with Stevens in the stand-up.
We'll see how it plays out here. Round number 1, Mark Stevens, Abe Piotrowski. In the catch weight of 175 pounds. Quick takedown here, Mike, early on, just 15 seconds into this first round.
Right. Abe got a little over-aggressive. Mark Stevens took him down. And right now, I mean, like I said, watch for Abe's weird flexibility. I know Mark has a good wrestling background, too, so he's going to have a good base and he's going to be tough to sweep. So Abe's going to have to work on getting up and not too many reversals. It's very, very hard, very, very difficult to reverse wrestlers.
Mark Stevens training out of Jiu-Jitsu Nation in Watertown, New York, so we know he has that grappling background. Just over 4 minutes to go in this opening round. Piotrowski looking cool, though, Mike. Like you said, doesn't seem to panic too often, even when he's in this position early on in the fight. And you kind of noticed from his demeanor talking to him yesterday, doesn't really get rattled by a whole lot.
No, he doesn't get flustered at all.
Big overhand right by Stevens. Piotrowski gets back up. Stevens trying to strike again and now take another takedown. Piotrowski holding his ground, and there it is. There's a takedown by Stevens.
Yeah, I don't understand why Abe grabbed the underhook like that. But, I mean, either way, he defended the takedown really well up until he did that because he was kind of actually keeping Mark close to him instead of trying to keep him away. And right now, Abe really needs to work getting that underhook and getting his hips over and getting his left shoulder past 90 degrees because Mark can just sit here and beat him up all day if he decides to stay here.
Surprised Stevens hasn't gone for some knees to the rib cage because it is wide open at this point. Piotrowski not really defending it. He's kind of more conscious of his upper body and defending his face more so. Now you see Stevens trying to drive a knee.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that, I mean, if they've done any research on Abe, they realize his flexibility. As soon as Mark elevates that knee, Abe's definitely going to stick that foot in and just pull dodge, just like he did there.
Abe trying to kick his way out of this.
That was a good,
Stevens with a nice kick.
Good right hand by Stevens, too. Stevens has pretty good accuracy with that right hand.
Very athletic, too. Very explosive, Mark Stevens. It's kind of similar to what we saw in that featherweight battle. And you don't always expect it at 175 pounds, but Stevens definitely has some flexibility and explosiveness. It's on display early here as we're halfway through this opening round.
See, what's going on is every time Abe's sitting up to get that guillotine, but every time he's letting that right leg go flat, so he's just allowing Mark Stevens to walk across and get side control every single time. He actually he has to keep guard or keep that foot in the hip, but he keeps just letting that leg go flat to the canvas for whatever reason. Mark's got a really good base right now. He's working. You know, I like what Mark's doing right now. He's not being too over-aggressive, but when he explodes, and he's kind of like just chipping away at that ice block. Good kicks from up top by Mark. Those sound like they hurt.
They do. And Stevens just kind of picking his spot here. Piotrowski trying to defend himself.
All right, good
from
right
his back.
Again.
Good rights again. Just the kick and then followed by the right, and he gets right back on top again. It's kind of been a pattern here, Mike, in this opening round.
Yeah, and I mean, for whatever reason, Mark is choosing to go to Abe's left every single time he passes also. So, I mean, maybe that's just, maybe it's something that Abe's just giving up with either that hip or that knee or that leg. But that's where he's ending up. But it's also because he's throwing that bomb overhand right, too.
That certainly helps. 1:30 to go in the opening round, and so far Mark Stevens in control.
Mark really hasn't looked to pass him out. I mean, if Mark's like a good or well-known wrestler, I mean, he'll stay in side control. I like side control actually better than mount.
Now, how come?
Only because I feel like Abe would have too many options from mount. Right now, he can run away or he can face me. Mount, he can twist, he can turn. You got to kind of apply the brakes, and I kind of look at it as like an individual spinning around in a cylinder. It's that much harder to control. Abe's got the guillotine right now, though.
You're right, Mike. As soon as he got to the mount, Abe gets that guillotine in. But 53 seconds to go, it's deep. But Stevens does get out of it.
Yeah, he tried the Upa sweep, but it didn't work.
Well, just as you mentioned, more options for Piotrowski in the mount, and there you see it right there. 41 seconds to go, still in the mount position. We'll see if Stevens tries to, well, we'll see if he goes to these kicks again, Mike. He's had this position before, and he's kind of looking for that opening. Piotrowski's spinning on his back, trying to keep him at bay.
Right.
And there's Mark, one.
It's weird because Mark keeps kind of circling to the right and then ending up on the left.
Delivering that right, yeah, and then he ends up on the left again. And right back to that same position where we've seen him 3 or 4 times in this first round.
And I would definitely, if I was Abe's corner, I would definitely instruct him to get up, or even if that space happens again and Mark starts standing up, instead of taking those detrimental leg kicks, just get up and work on running away. The only problem is that with the 2 times that Abe tried standing up and running away, Mark hit him with that hard right hand.
Well, that's the end of the opening round. A very interesting round for both fighters. Mark Stevens, I would say, in control for most of this round. Piotrowski trying to fight mostly from his back, but was unable to do so. And Stevens really showing his flexibility, showing off those strong kicks in that right hand. Good round for Mark Stevens so far. We'll see how Piotrowski responds. We'll see what his corner has to say and what instructions they can give him as they go into this. And like you said, if you're Piotrowski, you're going to try to stand up more. If you're Mark Stevens, what do you do differently in round number 2?
If I was Mark, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, I wouldn't really work on getting over aggressive because, I mean, he won that round. And if he just, like I said, I like what he's doing because he's kind of chipping away at the ice block. There's other things that he probably, even he knows that he could have capitalized on, but he's not going to jump all over it right now because maybe it's something that Abe didn't notice or recognize. And like I said, for whatever reason, Abe doesn't follow very well with his hips when Mark stands up. So Mark's actually circling to the right, throwing the right hand, and then landing up on side control on Abe's left side every single time.
We're just seconds away from round number 2 of this catchweight battle. Mark Stevens, Abe Piotrowski. Piotrowski putting his perfect record on the line. So far down a round against Mark Stevens, 13-6 from Watertown, New York. And we're seeing some of Mark Stevens' experience on display here tonight, Mike.
Yeah, Abe actually looks a lot better than he normally does, even just in his stand-up position. So he's obviously been working on it over at Triforce with Pete and Keith Jeffries. See, but these guys aren't doing even like what Bennett was doing. Nice feints and then finish. And again,
nice right hand by Stevens. And he scores the takedown now in the mount position. And we'll see how he tries to gain leverage in this spot, different than the side position he had earlier on in the first round and really throughout that first round.
I prefer an MMA Jiu-Jitsu. I really prefer a butterfly guard, having both hooks underneath, and you can elevate the guy again.
And there he is on that left side again, Mike.
Well, you know what it is? I just noticed every time Abe goes to it's a wedge that we actually work on. It's just a head deflecting move, and every time he does it, he drops his right foot, like I said before, to the canvas, and it just makes the pass that much easier for Mark.
He's right back at it again.
But the other thing is, too, is, I mean, Mark keeps on getting in this position, but he's not really capitalizing on it. He hasn't really caused any damage. He's not looking to mount. He's not really looking to advance his position. And he's not really landing many hard strikes. Abe's actually doing a good job of not taking too much damage at all.
He kind of seems content with the position this fight's in and what he can do from this position here, Mike. He could certainly win each round doing this and may not have to take many risks doing so.
Yeah, those
kicks are doing some damage.
Yeah, see, as soon as Abe even remotely gets up and looks like he's going to attempt to stand up, Mark throws that bomb right hand. But then again, I mean, Abe can just kind of run away from it. There's that right hand again.
And back on the same side, that same familiar position that we've seen throughout this fight. And it's certainly worked to Mark's advantage. Yeah, he has controlled the majority of this fight.
Yeah, right now, Abe's definitely got to work on getting that left arm underhook. Abe's totally content with he's been content the whole fight. There you go. See, he got the left arm underhook and he circled, but now he's got to watch his back.
Stevens snuck in a left hand. Hard to tell from this angle. I think there may be blood coming from the nose of Abe Piotrowski. It may not be a good angle for him to see it from. But Stevens has certainly landed some shots. You can see Piotrowski looking a little bit fatigued here at this point. He's really been smothered for the most part in this fight by Mark Stevens.
Right, and both mentally and physically. It just wears down on you. I mean, when he's constantly trying to advance his position, he's doing. See, it's every time Abe lets that leg get extended. You know, Mark passes again to the left, and he's got a good control. But right now, Abe's protecting his head, but he should be pushing Mark's face away from him to create some space and then work on getting up just like he did before. Mark's doing a really good job of just controlling Abe and just not allowing him to. What I like what Mark's doing is that he's giving enough space where Abe feels like he can move, and then when Abe moves, you know, he's pretty much leaving Abe with two options, bad and worse.
It's been a fairly dominant performance so far from Mark Stevens. Has really just mauled Abe Piotrowski. That's kind of the best way to put it. But Piotrowski has really had no answer at this point. You do see some blood coming out of the nose now for Piotrowski.
Right, you're right.
And we'll see how this fatigue sets into. A minute and a half to go in this round. If we get to round 3, we'll see if Piotrowski can do anything to fight back here. May have to make some kind of drastic change to win this fight, Mike, if it goes into the 3rd round.
Starting with unlocking his feet. Well, he's just pretty much keeping him there. I mean, Mark can't pass, but, I mean, throughout the whole fight, Mark really hasn't looked to get mount. So if I was Abe, I wouldn't really be worried about that. And right now, he's not doing anything to affect Mark's balance while he's on top. Mark is just kind of laying there doing whatever he wants.
He's been very comfortable in this position the entire fight. Good. Abe trying to get up and just pushes him right back down.
I mean, he pulled guard. At least he's not in side control. But see, he shrimps out. He leaves that right leg down, and Mark just passes onto the left side. And is totally content with staying there. And why not? He's been beating him up the whole time.
Absolutely. It's kind of a low-risk, high-reward position for Mark Stevens. Really no danger in being in this spot. But he's gaining the upper hand. He's certainly in control. 40 seconds to go in round number 2. Piotrowski looking gassed. And like you said, this is mentally and physically exhausting to be in this spot for almost 10 minutes now. And it's really been the better part of the 10 minutes as well. He has fought the majority of this fight from his back.
Exactly. And Mark's been doing a really good job of controlling Abe because, I mean, like I said, Abe has some really, like, kind of funky flexibility, and you haven't even really
had a chance to see it.
Yeah, he hasn't had the opportunity to even showcase it at all. I think Abe's actually really oh, good.
Watch out! Abe, Stevens kind of ducking his head in there, and Abe almost caught him with the left leg.
Yeah, Abe definitely looks gassed right now.
He definitely does. And he'll have a minute or so to rest here as this round number 2 comes to a close. Another dominant round for Mark Stevens. And again, Mike, now coming into this 3rd round, what does Abe Piotrowski need to do right from the start to avoid getting back into that position again?
Well, I think Abe, honestly, I mean, I'm actually shocked that I'm saying this, but I think Abe needs to just try to keep it on the feet and actually do some striking. It's obviously not working out for him on the ground.